Hey guys, this is Coach Bricks,
Coach James.
the Game Changers.
So today we're going to talk about today's athlete, and this is going to be a little bit of a comparison of more of what I've seen in today's athlete, and Coach Bricks is going to compare what he's seen recently and going back to athletes that he had when he first started up. So I can say, I've been with Coach Bricks now about 2.5 years. I did my internship here. From what I've seen, there's a very wide variety in athletes, even our younger athletes, middle school and high school, and comparing them to our morning group, which is more of our adult group. Our adults that come in, even our high school kids that come in the morning, they're the people that are going to come in, they're going to get the work done, they're not going to complain about it, they're going to come in, they're going to work their butts off, and they know what's expected of them every time they come in. You'll get that, so we always call it our morning group, our morning crew. And when we have our afternoon group that comes in, that'll be different middle school, high school kids that come in after school and whatnot. And you can kind of almost see the difference every now and then with some of them. That they might not be here, they'll come in with their friends, they might goof off a little bit here and there. They might not take it as seriously as maybe the kids in the afternoon, or the morning, I should say. And you can kind of see that if you try and push certain kids, you'll get pushback. And I might try and push one kid, and hey, that looked easy. I know you can do a little bit more. Well, I don't think I can. I don't really want to. That was too hard already. And you try, and it's just that constant battle that I've seen over these last 2 years. That it's just that constant battle. And then you have some of them that you're like, hey, that looked easy. Okay, what do you think I should go do? You tell them what they should be doing, or they ask for like whatever weight. What do you think I should do? You give them weight, they'll go do it. So it's that constant battle of trying to figure out how to work with those kind of athletes and figure out what works for them and getting them to work and how to encourage them. But I see that it's so much harder to find athletes to encourage, that once they find that, we've talked about it before, that little bit of adversity, most of them just shut down. And a lot of it comes from, I think we had talked about with a lot of the parents and before, that they just shut down, and there's not really that fight through that adversity that we would see with our older athletes and athletes that you would probably worked with before.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I see, I've been in it for 25 years, is that, what we have available now as athletes. So the theory is that athletes of today are so much bigger, faster, stronger. And while they may be true per se, it doesn't mean that the athletes of the past didn't have that potential. Actually, I would highly recommend say that probably athletes of the past were actually better than the athletes of today. We just glorify them much more because of how they look, and we have social media to put this out. But there was a study done, and I know it's a TED Talk out there. Last guy's name was Epstein, but he did it, and it was based on Usain Bolt. So who could run faster? Usain Bolt. They took Usain Bolt, Jesse Owens. Okay, who was faster? Everybody says Usain Bolt because he ran a 9.58. But what they then took into account was what kind of technology Usain had. So Usain ran on a nice rubber track with nice shoes and all that kind of stuff. When they took Jesse Owens in the day, he ran on a cinder track with not the greatest shoes and anything like that. Yet Jesse Owens still reached peak speed as Usain Bolt did. Usain Bolt held it for a much longer period of time, okay, for 30 meters at that peak speed, where Jesse only held it for 10 meters. But when you go back and look at it, and that's what people don't always understand, is that when you're running on cinder tracks, the ground force pushing into the ground is being displaced here, okay? It's going out because there's cinders, right? What Usain Bolt had was, because it's rubber, it's being pushed down and pushed back up. So he's being able to absorb that force into his body and being able to reproduce it. Where Jesse Owens had to work harder because that force is being displaced out. So the athletes of today, while yes, do look phenomenally better, okay, and are faster and are bigger and all this kind of stuff, the athletes of old had something else they had to work with, okay? Most of those guys, as you look at, say, the NFL, the Super Bowl just happened, these guys are making millions upon millions of dollars. They have one job. That's their job. The guys of old, guess what? Had to work another job because it didn't pay as much, so they had jobs on the side. You look at the Steelers, most of them probably worked in the steel mill or something like that, on the side. to get what they needed to get so they can provide for their families. So they had something else going on. So the athletes that I've worked with today, okay, compared to 25 years ago, they have this technology. They have the nice shoes. They're shown what they should be, okay? Doesn't mean they need to work just as hard, but they don't, because they can showcase all their stuff on which you're looking at from here, on a camera, okay? So they have that ability to do those things. Where the athletes of old, they didn't have that. You wanted a coach to see you, you better darn well bust your hump, and hopefully that coach can send a tape out, okay, VHS tape, to that coach to take a look at you. Now you can send this out to 300 coaches if you want. I put a huddle thing together and it's out there, you know? And I think that is taken away from the ability of an athlete to understand how hard you technically need to work. Now, Coach James is right. There's still some athletes that bust their humps. Still some athletes. But there's a lot of athletes who take the ride, because they're told they're great at a young age, right? They read it on social media, like, oh, look at me, man, I was scored this. When you start reading this stuff and start having all this stuff, then you start believing it, right? Doesn't mean it's true, but then you start thinking, I don't need to work as hard. We have a couple of athletes that, you know, they dominate at their level. And that's the key word, at their level. But as they go to move up, I think they're going to find it very difficult because the work ethic is not there. And it goes to the parents too. The parents need to actually push them to do things. And I'm not talking about just with sports, it's everyday life. Like one of my big things that I ask every single kid, especially in the winter here, is, did you shovel? The majority of kids say no. Now these are able-bodied individuals. I don't understand why you're not willing to put that effort in. Yes, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. I have to shovel all the time, and my driveway's probably 100, 200 yards or 100 yards long, and I have a parking lot that I shovel, hand shovel, not snow blow, hand shovel, right? That's a pain in the rear end. I understand that, but there's something behind that. It shows the work. It shows the grit that you're willing to put in. Just like I told Coach James, I said, if I had all my guys that I played football and I was on the line, and my guys next to me, they go out and shovel. Their parents don't ask them. They're going, I know I can rely on them. I don't have to ask them because they're the guys that are going to do it. Now, you say it's a simple little task. I agree with you. But if you can't do that simple thing, how can I rely on you to do the things that could become harder? And also, parents, why aren't you making them go out? Oh, it's too early in the morning? So what? Get them up. They live under your roof. You know what I mean? You provide food for them. They should get up. You know what I mean? Actually, it should get to a point where you don't even have to ask them. They just go do it. But we don't have that. So that's a difference between athletes. You're always going to have your lazy athletes and hardworking athletes. That's going on throughout the beginning of time, okay? But we got to stop reading our press clips all the time, okay? Or look at ourselves on social media and think that we're better than what we are. You should continue to work. You should pick somebody that's so far ahead of you, and that's my goal. And then once I hit that goal, then I pick somebody else. Every day I have a goal. Every day, I'm always trying to better myself. Trying to better myself against myself a lot of times. Who am I trying to reach? Well, I want to be this. Did I get there? No. Well, then I need to push harder. Myself. My greatest challenge is always myself. And that's what athletes don't do. Oh, I'm the best on my team. Yeah, but your team stinks. So yeah, that's great that you're the best on the team. What are you going against? You have to get outside the Harrisburg area, if you live in Harrisburg or whatever area you're in, and challenge yourself to other things. Challenging and getting uncomfortable is what's going to make you grow. And that's why I said with the snow shovel, that's uncomfortable. It's cold out, it stinks, you got to shovel it, it stinks, okay? But that's being uncomfortable. That means you are going to grow. Yes, it sounds simple and it sounds basic, but it goes deeper than that. That's what people don't want to tell you. Doing chores around your house without being paid, okay? I don't know why you'd be paid anyway because you've got a roof over your head and food on the table. But, okay, you should do these things. It's a challenge. Do your homework. They're all challenges. They're all making you uncomfortable. That's how you grow. I had to do a post for somebody, and I talked about a baby. Ask any parent when the baby grows the most. It's when they're the most uncomfortable. That's when they're screaming, they're teething, they're hungry, they're fussy. That means they're growing because they're uncomfortable. That means they're getting better. They're maturing. Just like kids, that's what we need. Just like adults, that's what we need too. Adults have gotten way too comfortable. That's a whole other topic. But that's what we need. So athletes of today, while not so much different than athletes of the past in the mindset per se, it's just, I should say their ability, it's their mindset that has changed, okay? They read too much of that press clipping stuff. They need to get out of that. They need to get back just to work, focus. If you look at my gym, it's an old Rocky style gym. I've said this for years. There's no mirrors. You don't need to look at yourself. Your job is to get a job done. Get better. Focus on you becoming the best version of yourself. I always ask a kid, I say, what's your potential? Some of them will give me an answer. Some have no clue what I'm talking about because they don't understand it. But your potential is unlimited. And I truly mean this. This goes for every single human being that walks the face of this earth, as an adult, as that. You have no idea what your potential is, because every time you reach that and you think that's your potential, you can go a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. You're never going to reach it. You will never reach your potential if you're continually working on it. Okay? Even David Goggins, all these guys talk about David Goggins, he never reached his full potential. Now, he might argue with me, and that's fine. We can have a debate. But I guarantee you, probably deep down, he's probably like, you're right. I could probably do a little bit more, a little bit more. And that's what you got to ask yourself as an athlete. Could I do a little bit more to make myself a little bit better each time? You know what I mean? Coach James is asking me to run this sprint. I'm going to run it. Am I going to jog it or am I going to sprint it? How hard am I willing to go to be better? And that's every single time you got to put that in, because there's somebody else out there that's busting their hump. And it goes back to Rocky 3. If you've never seen Rocky 3 and Rocky, Sylvester Stallone and Rocky Balboa and Mr. T, look at it. Mr. T was pushing himself to beat Rocky. All right, Rocky was on top, the pinnacle. You know, he won the world championship, all that kind of stuff. Mr. T was pushing in the dungeon, in this, gringy looking place, working to get better, a little bit better each time so he could beat Rocky. Okay? That's what you need to have a mindset like that. All right? But comparatively, athletes very, very are similar in some respects, you know what I mean? Like I said, when it comes to laziness, and some are going to work their butts off. But in other respects, some of them just, I think, take a free ride because they haven't been pushed. They haven't been pushed out of their comfort. I mean, heck, if a coach yells at you nowadays, you go tell your parent, and the coach probably gets fired. Back in the day, my coaches used to yell at us all the time. You know what I mean? We just dealt with it. Our parents just told us, suck it up and deal with it. Getting uncomfortable, I think, is the biggest thing. It's there. All athletes have that ability. Every single human being does. We just need to let it come back out. Okay? We need to get that back out. Get uncomfortable. Get yourself in an uncomfortable situation. That's why we offer that Earth Strong class that we do. It's one of the most uncomfortable things. It's 6:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. It's dark out. It's cold. It's hot. Whatever. It gets uncomfortable. All right? And that's what we need to get back to. So the athletes of today and old, I think they're just not as uncomfortable. They're just not in situations where it gets them uncomfortable. And when it does get uncomfortable, they quit. They don't want to do it anymore. They complain. They cry to this coach or this administration to let them play, and then everybody caves. And that happens. That's not how the world works. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I see over my 25 years.
I want to add another point. Like, I was going to mention the Earth Strong, because we always, whenever we are coming up on one of our big ones especially, we always like to call a bunch of people out. And we know the people that consistently show up, those are the people that we know are always going to be ready to be uncomfortable in whatever we're going to throw at them. But we always call people out, and all right, the ones that are going to accept that call out and actually show up are the ones that, consistently don't show up, or they'll make an excuse as to why they didn't show up. And, we only maybe give them one good excuse as to why. And you normally typically say family is the only reason as to why you can miss one. But they'll come up with a laundry list of excuses for whatever reason that they might have been, it was snowing, it was raining, it was too cold or whatever. But those are the ones that do show up and consistently come back and continue to show up. Those are the ones that are always going to be the hard workers, typically out of that group that we have coming in here, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to see. It's easy to see. It's also easy to see why people get ahead in life. It's the people who stay uncomfortable all the time, get themselves ahead, because they constantly are working to challenge their bodies, their minds, and their spirit to get better and better and better and better and better and better. While many, many athletes have become comfortable. And unfortunately, for many athletes who have great success when they're young, tend to become very comfortable because they dominate such a young age that they lose sight of how to get to that point, that then once they lose it and adversity comes their way, they have no way to handle it. And a lot of the times it has to go on the coach and on the parents. How are you challenging them? If you keep challenging them, guess what? Most kids will rise to that challenge. It's not only in sports, but it's anything in life. And that's what we need to continue to do. So, guys, reach out to us what you guys want to hear, topics, what you guys agree. Maybe you don't agree at all. Maybe you guys want to argue with us. Great. Maybe we'll even have you in. You guys can argue your side of it. I'm all for that. We'll pick a time and do it. I think that's great. I think that's how we get better, is have discussions. So reach out. If you want to come in, you want to be part of the show, reach out to Coach James, and he'll put all the information on the YouTube page, okay, in the subject section there, so you guys can get his email, james@exsp.biz. But definitely, whatever we can do to help you guys out. This is Coach Bricks,
Coach James.
and this is the Game Changers.